I'm just thinking about the terms objective and subjective and how they figure within conversation, how we use them. Because it seems to me that these terms are bandied about quite a lot, but a lot of the time they're being used either incorrectly or as part of a sort of thinking process, conversational process, which doesn't really accord with how those words are actually working. I mean, because those words, objective and subjective, of course, they do have dictionary definitions. They have a lot of dictionary definitions, and they do have specific technical use where they have, quite well-bounded and functional uses in, again, well-bounded and functional languages. But in regular conversation, and even the kind of half-informed conversation, which is typical of the kind of conversations we engage in here, those technicalities, the technical specificities of those words, is always lost, it seems to me. So anyway, I've just been thinking about some things about this, and I'll probably have to make some follow-ups to support what I'm saying here. But I mean, the first thing is that the objective-subjective dichotomy is usually held up as that. That those two terms kind of exhaust the possibility of how knowledge or facts or information can exist. Information, knowledge, facts can be objective or it can be subjective. It's a dichotomy and it's exhaustive. That's all there is. And that isn't true. I don't think that's true at all. I think there are ways of talking about facts, ideas, knowledge, information, data, which doesn't fall into the objective subjective dichotomy, that just doesn't work to describe. So it's a false dichotomy. Secondly, it's not an exhaustive dichotomy. It doesn't cover everything. Secondly, I'm not sure it's a dichotomy at all. We talk about objective and subjective as if it's a simple binary divide. That which is objective is separate from that which is subjective. Straightforward, different categories. There's two categories of, pardon me. Two categories of knowledge here. Two categories of facts, if you like. That which is objective and that which is subjective. With all of the logic that seems to flow from that, we think. In normal categorical logic, that which is in one category cannot be in another category unless they're nested. We don't see these as nested. So that which is subjective, we think, is by definition not objective, and that which is objective is, we think, by definition not subjective. But it's not by definition. There isn't any definition which, well, none of the definitions that we use within vernacular speech, at least, would imply that really. So they're not really categorically distinct in that way. They're not part of a binary. Okay, so it's not exhaustive, they're not part of a binary or a false dichotomy. And the last thing is that they're not opposites. We often treat them as if they are opposites. As if there's more to be said about this, because in some ways they can be treated as opposites. For the most part they're not. We treat the objective as somehow out there, and that is that is opposite to the subject which is in here. So we do set these things up as kind of embodied oppositions, the objective and the subjective, and they're not just opposite but often in competition with one another. We see them as being a competition for precedence. But again, that's nothing to do with the terms objective and subjective, or how they might be used technically. Okay, so those are the three things I'm thinking about. Objective, subjective. They're not exhaustive terms. They don't cover the whole world of knowledge. They're not a true dichotomy in the sense that the objective is a separate category of knowledge to the subjective, and they're not opposites at terminal ends of some kind of evaluative system for gauging knowledge, with the objective being distanced and the subjective being proximal.